Hello and welcome to Film Hunters, where we look for a well-written film in this day and age.
It's me, Aiden, ya boy.
And it's me, not ya boy, Jonathan. Today we're doing The Boys because the other person didn't want to watch this classic cinematic masterpiece with us.
Although technically we hadn't chosen it yet, but...
Well, also technically she wasn't invited, but we're blaming it on her.
Yeah, it's her fault.
Okay, so what did you think of this movie?
Well, first what we watched was Jack Black's Nacho Libre, and if you love Jack Black, you'll love Nacho Libre, according to the box. It's 95 cents. I got it at McKay's. That's 95 cents more than I normally pay for movies. And, I'm going to be completely honest. I think it was worth the 95 cents.
Yeah, we on this podcast do not condone pirating in any way, shape, or form.
No, I just have friends who buy multiple copies of DVDs to support it. Yeah, they just love to support their favorite movies.
They're like, this big corporation needs my money. And they'll go buy, didn't we see them when Smurfs came out? They bought 10 copies of Smurfs just to support Sony.
I think so. Smurfs was a phenomenal film, if I remember, about the little blue people.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the second one, but I hear it's they're just as short as in the first.
It is like The Empire Strikes Back or Terminator 2 of Smurfs. At the end, I was crying manly tears of emotion at how amazing this movie is. We're never gonna review it because there's no way we could. It would just be, this movie is awesome for 2 hours.
Yeah, I haven't seen it because, quite frankly, I'm still young. I need somewhere to go up in life. I can't peak too soon.
I watched Smurfs and Smurfs 2, and as I was walking out of the theater after my 48th time having seen Smurfs 2, I fell down on my knees and I cried because I realized that there's truly nowhere else but down. And I was right.
Unless they make a Smurfs 3.
I don't think this world could handle such amazingness. It'd probably be like Shrek 3 and just be awful.
Or it's too good for us, like B-Movie 7. We can't do that.
Oh my goodness, we can't handle B-Movie 7. It's just too good for this world.
Alright, well, on to the movie. So,
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew what it was before I bought it, and that's why I bought it. Because it's just a classic. It's one of the movies that made Jack Black famous, and quite frankly, it's if you watch this, it's a lot like most of his roles. It's not really something a lot different, but if I had to show people, I think he has more defining roles, but if I wanted to show you who Jack Black was, I think this is what I would show you.
Are you sure you wouldn't do The House with the Clock in its Walls? I think he was great in that role.
I've never heard of that one.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
It's this garbage fantasy movie. I saw the ad for it. I'm like, oh man, they dragged Jack Black into this one.
Probably because...
Wait, wasn't he in Artemis Fowl?
I don't know. They probably just blackmailed him. Maybe he was in a worse movie, and they're like, we're going to release this unless you get in this movie.
I don't know, man. I don't know how you could have a worse movie than Artemis Fowl.
See, that's why I understand why they released stuff like Morbius rather than just keeping it and be like, all right, we own you now, Jared Leto, or else we'll release this movie.
Can't insult Morbius, who was so good.
I'm sorry. I
mean, when Morbius went, it's Morbin time and Morbin all over Spider-Man or whatever.
They probably got him to do that because they still have plenty of the Joker scenes from Suicide Squad that they cut. Because he got so mad about that, and they're still holding on to him.
They're like, we might release a director's cut if you do Morbius.
Exactly. You do Morbius, or else we're gonna see what Tekashi 6ix9ine with green hair does.
It's like, this is the film of your favorite scene. Just, my goodness. Didn't he, like, give people dead rats and stuff when he was filming
Yeah,
that?
he gave Margot Robbie a dead rat because he liked to go full method, which is more annoying on the cast and the crew and basically everyone involved. The only real reason I would ever say method is good is because sometimes it gets better results, but apparently not.
Not in this case.
It's like they paid extra to have it be even worse. It's like they went to Taco Bell and it's like, here, if you for an extra $1.50, we can spit in it and take half your burrito.
Still better than Jared Leto Joker.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, the one thing I will give him is that most Jokers, it takes a little while into the movie, for you to really understand how truly insane they are. This one, you knew because they had it tattooed on their forehead.
I also knew that the casting director was insane.
Yeah, that's true. That I knew the second I checked the cast.
I got that movie for 95 cents as well from McKay's.
I don't think that was worth it.
It wasn't worth it. I spent $60 on random movies that night. I went in there to get one, maybe two movies, and walked out with 10.
That's how it normally goes. But yeah, I don't think that is worth the hour and a half. Let alone 95 cents.
No, it's not worth it at all.
I mean,
has Joker ever, in any incarnation, given a dead rat to someone just randomly? Like, if it was like wind-up teeth, that's something. Or even a whoopee cushion would be more Joker-like.
I don't know. I think it's... See, it's like too, I guess, weird and serial killer-like to be the more classic version of Joker, where it's like, haha, he's, this funny guy, like more circus clown-like. But it's also not, like, it's pointless enough so that it wouldn't be the other end. It's like right in that middle ground of stupidity.
The sweet spot of awfulness.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we're talking about an actually good film, so...
That's true.
Film opens. I love the main theme of the film, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I actually have that downloaded on my phone. I listen to it a lot. I love it, and also the lyrics actually go along with his path in the movie because he says, it's like, I know I am a real religious man, and how he's proud of that, but how partly in the song it says, I think I am, and like this stuff, because he actually starts to question whether or not he is not even, he questions whether he wants to be, but also questions whether in his heart he really is. But it's in the end where he figures out that these two conflicting pieces of his life can become one, and that's where he says, I know I am. So even the score goes through his character arc.
Did he make that song, or?
I don't think... It's not him singing, I know, but I have no clue who made it.
Okay, because I thought that would be...
Maybe they made it in School of Rock.
In school. I haven't finished that movie, actually. I was in the middle of it, and then I had to go do something else, and I never finished it.
Yeah, I know how that is. Because once you, get cut off in the middle of the movie, you aren't going back. Okay,
I started Return of the King for Lord of the Rings, right? And then I had to stop in the middle and lost my spot, and I've just never finished it because I don't want to restart.
Which one is Return of the King?
The Lord of the Rings, the last one.
The last one. Okay, I have gone through 1.5 because the same thing happened to me, but on the second one. But the thing is, this is nothing bad about the movie. I was at boarding school, super exhausted, so I fell asleep. So I half remembered like a whole big chunk of it, and I'm like, I'm not watching something because I have to watch it because I don't remember it enough to get it, but also I remember enough so that it's boring to just watch that right again. I never went back. To this day, I've only seen 1.5.
Okay, my sister's gonna kill you.
Well, let's just hope she doesn't tune into this episode then.
Yeah, luckily, for us, I'm the one editing the audio and she isn't.
Well,
yeah, I thought that was, like the intro, how he does, he steals the stuff from the TV and
yeah, I think it's
assembles it.
pretty interesting how just going through the credits, they immediately establish the conflict. I mean, first you see this monastery, then you see him grabbing all his stuff, you wonder what's for, then you see him dressed up as a wrestler, and then the monks take his clothes and stuff. Basically, all within the credits, they actually established the main conflict of the movie, which I've never really seen done before.
No, instead with Spider-Man, we get random spider imagery for 10 minutes, and we're like, get on with it!
Yeah, or there'll be some where they, will throw in, B-roll shots of different things that's, of the scenery, or they'll, in Deadpool, just start you in the middle of, an action sequence to grab your attention, but I've never seen them actually, use the credit scene for more than just, oh, that's kind of cool. Whereas now, once you've seen the credit scene, you already know what the movie's about.
Exactly, conflict between his two sides. Which, yeah, I think they did the conflict really well because I feel like in a lesser movie he would have thrown his priest habit off and said "Sayonara, losers," and ran off into the sunset and it had wine and women and all that stuff.
Yeah, one thing I have to give this a lot of credit for, because a lot of comedies don't do this, and I'm very religious, and I've actually had sort of this conflict as well with stuff I've wanted to do in life, as is this really a desire, for God, or am I chasing this thing? I've had a lot of these sort of conflicts, but one thing I appreciate about this movie that most comedies with religion in it don't do is they never disrespected the religion, which I'm not that religion, but I think it's important to not...
Whoopi Goldberg, fake sister.
Yeah. I think it's great to be able to see a comedy that doesn't just make comedy on disrespecting the religion, where somebody of the religion could watch it and enjoy it just as much, if not more.
Yeah, have you seen any of the various movies and stuff featuring Orthodox Jews on Netflix?
No, I have not.
They're so I swear they're anti-Semites. So don't watch this.
I will
if you
not.
value your brain cells. It's My Unorthodox Life, and it's basically the plot line is this woman is part of the Satmar Hasidus, which is like a sect of Judaism. And then she's like, oh, this is patriarchal, and it's, you know all the tropes, all those tropes. And so she runs away, where she gets to live a wild life. Anyway, so I actually watched it with a guy who's Satmar, and there was one time he literally stood up and started screaming at the TV. And it's not just because it was so inaccurate, it's clear that they just didn't do any research.
Yep.
They're coming out with one about this kid who's about to have a bar mitzvah, and then he has to move out into the country for some reason. And I love all the comments under it was, Netflix, please leave us Jews alone.
Oh, bruh. But yeah, I love that they did that because it's really shows to the quality of the movie, because, they managed to still make some religious bits of it funny, but usually by contrast and stuff, by him drawing in his little journal, his little Nacho Libre get up, and then there's just a statue staring right down at him. So they still made him being a monk funny without making fun of him being a monk, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Just the restraint on that.
Yeah, that is much more restraint than I've seen in any other movie from Hollywood.
And one other thing, just while we're talking about restraint, which is another huge pet peeve of mine, is they let the serious moments be serious.
Marvel.
Yeah, I know. They actually they never had a moment where I felt like they completely killed the mood. They even had some scenes that were comedy and then like turn into a more serious thing. So they would let serious interrupt comedy, but never once was I like, oh, here's this serious moment, and then they're like, let's just throw a joke in there that we read off the back of a Laffy Taffy.
But what did you think of his soups?
His soups. I mean, it was just beans. Just beans with like crumpled chips on top. I think I've eaten at that calf.
We all have. We went to college at that calf.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Did I tell you? So I used to work at the calf, right? And part of what us Jews have to do is we have to check all our vegetables for bugs. So I know how to check all the vegetables for bugs. So out of sheer curiosity, I'm like, can I find bugs on this? I found bugs on it, and I pointed out to her, and she's like, where? I'm like, it's right there. It's an aphid, and she's like, I don't see. So I pull it off on my finger and show it to her, and she's like, more protein. I'm like,
Bro, I remember there was at my old boarding high school, there was two chefs, one that everybody loved and one that most people didn't like, and they're like, there was this meme that went around campus, and it was the chef that we didn't like. When he's been on for 3 days. It was that one part from Lord of the Rings. We ain't had nothing but maggoty bread for 3 stinking days.
That's honestly how it was.
Yeah, but this one, I actually feel for the guy, because he doesn't have any good ingredients. Ours, like, they'll make macaroni and cheese, and then be like, this is a great meal. And it was. I actually like their macaroni and cheese. Then they're like, what can we throw into it to make it bad? Like, they went out of their way to make
what did they
worse.
put in it?
Oh, they've put broccoli in it.
Wait, they put broccoli?
Yeah, and they've put, like, beans and stuff in it, or it might have been chili, which I know some people like, but they didn't leave any that didn't have it. And I'm like, how much, like, it can't be any more work to leave some that doesn't have it. Because I understand some people like it, you know?
Put 2 dishes?
Yeah, you can put 2 dishes, or give them chili on the side, because it's like, you can mix it yourself, you know? It's not like handing somebody ice cream and milk and, here, make your milkshake. They can mix this themselves. It's macaroni and chili.
And I thought me putting tuna on my mac and cheese was embarrassing. No, I will never feel ashamed.
Yeah.
Except when my wife put ketchup on her macaroni and cheese.
Dude, I've seen ketchup go on some wacky stuff.
Oh, my nephew is at the ketchup belongs on everything stage.
Oh,
We left him near the bottle, so he just squirted it on his pizza.
Oh,
and then he squirted it on some pasta.
I had, actually, my freshman year, the first film we ever did, I had to be somebody who was secretly addicted to ketchup, so I had to squirt some, like, raw into my mouth, and we didn't have anything but the big one, so when I tried to do it, like, I couldn't get a little. It just, like, a whole bunch came in, and I had to just sit there with it in for that scene. It was not fun.
Like, you remember the Goofy movie? The guy had, like, the Cheese Whiz?
Oh, yeah. Like, I wouldn't do that with Cheese Whiz either, but that'd be better than ketchup.
At least you can control the outflow.
Yeah, that's true. That's a big difference. Whipped cream is the only thing I think I'd do that with. I really like whipped cream.
I also like whipped cream. It's not allowed in our house, though.
Yeah. And if I had it here, it wouldn't be within an hour.
Dude, that's me and Jell-O. I'm not even joking. Love Jell-O. Anyway, so yeah, he makes bad soup because he has bad ingredients.
Yeah, and
he's got the nachos. That's where he gets his name.
Yeah,
nachos.
And one thing actually that I noticed is when they have the scene of him throwing out all of the beans with the chips to everybody, you can see each kid like has a different cup to show, because you'd think it's super cheap, they all have the same, but they all have different cups that look like they've been donated. They couldn't even afford like the cheapest stuff. Like, we have the same cups from Walmart, you know?
We literally
Yeah.
Well, actually, we don't have the same cups, but we do have the same plates.
Yeah.
Literally the same. It's hilarious.
Yeah. And plus, like, they were all, like, in different spots, so the table wasn't set well, so it just really showed just that small detail helped show their situation.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, but those little things, are nitpicks. I'm like, when a movie has like a bunch of these little, just showing that at every level the
Intentionality of it.
No, I was thinking, what's the word? Not staff, crew, the movie crew. Yeah, that they cared about that they didn't care about the movie and they didn't care about the little details.
Mm-hmm.
But, just showing that they cared enough to, instead of just going to Walmart and getting some random cups and being like, here you go, that actually finding stuff that looked worn and donated.
Yeah, which is actually one thing where I think animation actually gets a little bit of an advantage, and not necessarily due to it being easier, but everything you gotta make. So you're forced to think about, you could do it on autopilot, but a lot of movies that are live action will opt to just do whatever they have, because everybody's got stuff lying around. Nobody has animated stuff lying around,
Speak for yourself. I have some in the closet.
Yes. But yeah, so I love when they'll actually go to those lengths to, everybody is on board, because let's be honest, you can't, no matter what job you're in, you cannot get all of these details. You've got to have the people in those details on the same page.
Yeah, and honestly, this movie had a lot of that attention to detail that I thought was very, very interesting.
And it's got a lot of stuff like, they really played into the, like, dry humor and ridiculous humor at the same time, which has always been a great combo. And like that one point where I've seen this movie a few times, where he kicks the ball and his shoe goes off and he just runs out without it, and like you can see one of his bare feet. I never noticed that, but that also
I wonder if that was like a set accident. They just rolled with it.
Yeah, probably. That just partially goes to, show how things can happen, and you want to just roll with it. And because of how the cameras are set up, they had to switch. So rather than reshooting, they're like, let's just keep his shoe off for the next few shots,
Yeah, and they kept his shoe off because I feel like a lesser film would have just forgotten.
Yeah, it's like Bob Ross's Happy Little Accident. The one thing, though, which I was fine with, because I understood why, is after in the very end, they do the atomic wedgie bit, and you can see, like, all the flap he has left, but in the next shot, it's gone. But I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because you don't want the flap there for the entire thing,
I didn't even notice that, so...
Yeah, it's pretty unnoticeable, but it would be noticeable if it was there. And it'd just be kind of annoying,
Yeah. Or, actually, I wonder if it would have been funny if they had Ramses, like, grab his front and, like, pull it back.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Even when they, like, it's almost like they messed up on the details. They didn't. They specifically chose to do this stylized. They chose to do this because it would better the film rather than do it realistically, because that's a lot of what you come into in film is, do I want this to be more realistic or more movie-like? And you've always got to find a way in the middle. Every once in a while you're stuck with a decision that's something small like this, and it's like, I can either have it realistic or I can have it good for the movie, and you just got to choose. And those ones, I can honestly just say, yeah, I'm fine with those, because it's intentional, It's not like they just forgot about it.
Yeah,
and it had a lot of good transitions, too. Like, how you go straight from the opening scene of him cooking the stuff to him bringing it out as an adult. You passed years, like probably at least 20 years or something in his life, yet it felt like it was the same exact scene. And that even just shows the monotony of his life.
Yeah, honestly, I loved a lot of the shots and the cuts in this film.
Yeah. There's also another one that stood out to me is they just cut to black like a normal thing, but then from black they open a door. And that one stood out to me as well. And it's just, once again, those things that you don't need those to make a good movie, but having those makes it all the little bit better, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so next in the plot, the sister, what was her name? Incendio?
I have it right here. Encarnacion.
No wonder I'm not remembering that. Gibber.
Yeah, I know anybody who speaks Spanish heard me say that, and they probably just cringed.
Oh.
Yeah, but the sister, we'll refer to her as the sister.
The sister, that's a good idea. So, her introduction.
Just, for clarification, sister in the monastery, not blood sister, because she is the love interest. This was set in Mexico, not Alabama.
You say that, but have you been near Pakistan?
No, I have not.
It's fine. I have a Pakistani friend. No, you think you know patriots here in America?
Mm-hmm.
My friend, we're real good friends, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of like center left leaning and all that. But whenever you bring up India, I swear he's the most right wing nationalist guy you've ever talked to. I once made a comment about the comment was about what is it? Kashmir? Yeah, Kashmir isn't that necessary. And the context, by the way, was we were playing a game. Instantly, he started screaming at me, "No, there is no way that's not necessary. Every inch of it should belong to." And he goes on until he's like, "Wait, I'm sorry." I let my nationalist get me, but anyway, but yes, no incest allowed in this podcast.
And actually, no even romanticism allowed in the movie, but they do it anyways. But that's the whole another one of the conflicts.
I expected them to get married at the end, but they didn't.
Yeah, which I think kind of is nice because you can think that they did, or you can think that you can think whatever you want. Because I think there would have been people disappointed, no matter what you did. If they do end up getting married, there would have been people like, oh, so they broke their vows. If they didn't, and you see for a long time they didn't, we're leaving it up in the air. It's
or they can become Eastern Orthodox where the priests can marry.
Yeah, that's true. I honestly don't know what religion this is.
Catholicism, I think.
Catholicism.
Yeah.
I think so. But I'll be honest, I don't know how to identify them that much. I know just about as much as I do about other languages. I can tell Mandarin from Spanish. That's about it.
You can't spell Spanish from Brazilian. Oh, there goes all the Portuguese members of the audience.
Yep. Did you know, I learned this in Spanish class, that vitamin C is Spanish for vitamin yes.
That took me That is all I know from Spanish class.
Yeah, I saw
sí,
one.
Señor.
There's also one where it was it had Tom Hanks in front of a American flag and it says T Hanks, and then one of him in front of a Mexican flag and says G Gracias. Well, back to this, and then so first time they introduced the villain, they did a really good job. We both mentioned it while we were watching. Very first thing you see is a woman go up to him wanting an autograph. He opens the door right into her and doesn't even care. So before you even see the villain, you know what he's like.
This is a bad dude.
Yeah. And they did it keeping with it being a comedy.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Yeah. It was like out of nowhere.
No, for as little development as the villain got, I think they did a good job. Because, you know, he doesn't do, like, a lot of talking or a lot of even doing.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's also I liked about it is he always wore his mask, which showed his vanity and how much he idolizes himself, while also keeping him inhumane, because it's a lot easier for us to associate with somebody once we see their face. So us not seeing his face ever helped keep him as very evil, you know? Sort of like how Darth Vader is always evil, and then the first time we see him really be good, we get to see his face, to have a human moment. We kept him inhuman.
Yeah. Also, I looked this up, but apparently the masks have, like, almost like a sacred significance, and, like, in real life, they'll just, like, never take off their mask.
Interesting. That I would not want to do that.
Dude, I'm just saying, just imagine the you take it off at night and, like, a layer of your skin, or, like, can you imagine, like, as you like take it off and a layer of your dandruff and skin flakes just comes off with it?
Here's what I'm saying. This is clearly set a while back, so they didn't have nice skin care treatments. Imagine the acne this guy has.
My goodness.
He pulls it off, his entire face is a pimple.
Just one giant pimple. Oh my goodness, my wife... I mean, I don't think she would mind me saying this. When she wore, you know, back when we all had to wear masks, her acne was so bad.
Yeah, I know. I would get a lot of acne, like, specifically along that line of the nose where it sits. Cause,
dude, my beard is so uncomfortable in that mask because it, like, crushes it up. And especially in the summer, it's so itchy.
I'm just glad I didn't have glasses. That's the worst.
Oh, my goodness. I hated those stupid masks.
Yeah, but one thing also that I noticed is so they have the kid that he really connects with, and they made them, you know, obviously look a bit alike, but also you'll see Nacho Libre as a kid, so he's fatter and he wears a shirt that's too small for him, and the kid that he really connects with, same size shirt. It goes down to the same point in his stomach. They dressed the little kid like him to make it even more like they're the same, so that they would...
Yeah, I didn't actually notice that, so I think it was appropriately subtle.
Yeah.
Because there's parallelism, and then there's bashing your nose in.
Yeah, like if he looked exactly the same, you know?
He had the same hair, and...
Just the same actor.
No, literally they did the camera tricks that they did for Hobbits, but with Jack Black.
Oh mercy!
He like looks at the camera, guys. I am supposed to be a younger Nacho Libre. Okay, so he gets toast with the nun. I thought that was funny. He just scooches the toast underneath.
Yeah, and they kept very dry humor even in...
Well, of course, they were eating toast. It's very dry, and I don't think there was any butter on it.
I don't... The crunch sound it made tells you how dry it was.
The sound effects in this movie are usually you don't notice the sound effects. Unless they're awful, but these, I noticed them and I was just laughing.
The only two is I didn't really appreciate both times where he jumped and they just played like a random fart sound, because it not only is that a bit cliche, but I would have been fine with it, except it doesn't even look like he farted, and they used the same sound both times.
Yeah, it's like, and now random fart sounds, because farts are funny.
That's the one thing that was a bit cheaper in this movie, but the only thing I saw.
Have you seen Trolls?
No.
Okay, so at one point in this movie, they like make this painting, right? And they're like, "Oh, it's not good enough." So the sparkly show's like, "Wait, something along those lines." Obviously, I barely remember this stupid movie. Yeah. He's like, "Wait, it needs a lot of charge." So he goes and he farts glitter all over the picture.
Bro.
This is where DreamWorks is where comedy goes to die. Or, namely, Boss Baby. Boss Baby was the death of all comedy.
Yeah, until the show. That's when it really came
Wait,
up.
did they have
Yeah, they have a Netflix show.
Wait, so Boss Baby
Back in business. Boss Baby, back in business. That's the Netflix Boss Baby
So not
show.
only did Boss Baby get nominated for an Oscar...
Wait, it did?
Yes, it did!
That just shows how stupid the Oscars
It got
can
a
be.
sequel, and it's got a Netflix original show. I don't want to live in this world anymore.
Dude, Boss Baby was so bad, even just the concept alone. The only baby I've ever been cool with, really, like, talking, has been Stewie from Family Guy. That's the only one where I've been like, okay, I'll let it slide.
I'll be honest, if I was in charge of DreamWorks and someone came up to me and pitched me the idea of an Alec Baldwin Boss Baby, I would have fired them instantly. No severance, no nothing, and blacklisted them from the industry. Whoever comes up with these, who gets paid to come up with this idea?
I have no idea. And what the thing is, not that somebody that comes up with it. Somebody comes up with it. Somebody writes it. Somebody else says, yeah, this okay. Somebody else puts it into production. How many lines it has to go through, and nobody stops and goes, wait a minute, guys. Don't you realize this is actually stupid?
This is why we can't have good things, Boss Baby.
Yep, Boss Baby.
You know the four beasts in Daniel, right? The fourth and most terrible beast that destroys everything. That's Boss Baby.
That's Boss Baby.
It destroys all the good movies.
One thing that I did also like is when we first see the sidekick, his wrestler name is the Skeleton. I don't think that ever actually said his real name. If they did, I forgot. But I like that the first time we actually have them talking, like, we instantly know this guy's motivation. Everything, even like the glory, the vanity, even all that bad stuff, nothing motivates him except for the money. So I thought that was great, that pretty quickly on we understand who this guy is.
I loved his intro, just like stealing the chips from the orphans.
I know. And that just goes to show you how much he doesn't care. And actually, I
hate orphans. Yeah. Oh, the orphans in the world.
And every time they have a conflict, this happens like 3 to 5 times in the movie. They'll like wrestle a little bit and talk while they're wrestling each other. Like that, like two little kids. That's every single time they have a conflict in this movie. That's what they do.
It's great. Also, I find it interesting that I'd say the first 5 or 10 minutes, I'd definitely say by 10 minutes, they had everyone established, and their base character and motivations established.
Yeah. And one thing also is they kept the, like, I would say there's, like, 3 tiers. There's, like, main characters, then there's the side characters, then background characters. The background characters, for the most part, almost every one of them was made to be forgettable, yet funny. So they don't take a spotlight off of them. Like, almost all of the, like, just citizens and stuff that you see, every one of them acts like the same exact person. Like, just the looks on their faces and stuff.
It was hilarious. Or, I think we skipped over the moment when they're like, after he kicks off his shoe and he goes to talk to the nun, the other guy's like, go and do rites with this man with influenza, and he goes in and he does last rites, and I just knew it was coming, and the guy rips it off.
Yeah, that, and even just that, when he's doing, like, the wife of the dude just has this blank stare. Like, everybody in the movie that isn't important just has a blank stare. Like, they don't know that they don't know that they're in a movie, they just know people are filming, and they don't know why.
Okay, and then yes, we covered that that he talks to the guy. He's like, "Hey, 200 pesos to wrestle if you win."
Mm-hmm.
And so they have their training montage, which is just hurting each other.
Yeah.
It's just like they took a notepad from Tom and Jerry and ripped out a page.
And it, like you said, the montage. Not only did they get to that point of the montage super quickly, but also, like, they jumped into the montage super quickly. Like, normally you take a little bit to establish stuff. They're just like, now that we've got everybody, instantly to the montage. Because, like, in Rocky and stuff, takes a while. And then even after they establish this is what he's going for, it's not next scene montage. But he gets the other guy in, very next scene. They're doing the montage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the movie didn't waste a lot of time, and I was thinking, let's say I was being really ruthless and I don't care about jokes, and trying to cut scenes. What scenes would I cut? I mean, so the one with the fat daughter with the skeleton guy,
Mm-hmm.
I think that could have been cut. And then the one where he goes and does the last rites of the priest. I mean, they're both hilarious, but
Yeah.
I think I could cut those. But for a comedy, because comedies love to have a bunch of random scenes,
Mm-hmm.
that it's like they took 20 SNL skits and cut out the middles and stuffed them together. You know exactly what movies I'm talking about. But this one had a very, very tight plot.
Yeah. And I think also that one scene in the bathroom where he says the song.
Oh, yeah.
Sings that for her. I didn't feel like that had much of a point. That's one scene that I actually probably would have cut. But I didn't find the singing all that hilarious. But if you did, then by all means keep it. But yeah, most of the scenes in here, even if you don't find them funny, they have to stay in.
Yeah.
Which is
essential for the plot. Which, when I'm writing, I always follow the thing. The what's her face? What was her name from Attack of the Clones? If it is not essential to the plot, it must be cut. Or if it is not in our records, it does not exist.
Oh.
If it is not essential to the plot, it does not exist.
Yeah, I have no clue what her name is. You're talking to the wrong person, but I do know who you're talking about.
Yeah, no one knows her name except for people who crawl Wikipedia.
Dude, I feel like she's every teacher ever. When you tell them, actually, we're kind of busy. We have a lot of other homework. No, if it is not for this class, it does not exist. You will spend all of your weekend on this class only.
Oh my goodness. Ugh.
But I also liked that right after he won, they spent no time in showing you exactly what his motivations were at the time. All he wanted was money to help the orphans.
Win, he lost.
He did lose.
But he got money.
And the very first thing he does is gets good food for the orphans, and you even show how much he cares about them. It's salad, which one of them specifically requested.
The art of the subtle setup and payoff is lost in Hollywood, and it's a shame because that was like a great moment.
Yeah. All they ever have is callbacks to stuff you didn't care about. And it's like, callbacks...
Or even better, callbacks to previous movies that you cared about, so you should care about this one.
Mm-hmm. It's like, there's so many things where I see they call back, and I'm like... Just because you call back something doesn't make it good.
I am tired of Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, "I'll be back." He says it in everything, and it's never funny. Like, we get it. He's gonna be back.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That line never actually stood out to me that much in the Terminator. Like, I heard it, but I wasn't like, oh, that's a signature line right there,
Yeah, like, it was amusing. He's like, "I'll be back," and then just goes through the wall with the cop car. Like, it was funny, but that's his legacy.
Yeah.
If I put him in a movie, I'd have him say, "I'm not coming back" at one point, just as a and then put in his contract that he can never say that again in any movie.
And then also another thing, like, this is to show, like, they have so many callbacks, but it doesn't feel like it's a callback. It feels like a setup and a payoff, but there are some callbacks, like when he makes his suit again, they, like, do the exact same shots and stuff that they did for when he was a kid in the credits scene doing it.
What did he use the rocks in the aquarium for?
Those were, like, to spell out his name, Nacho Libre, on the back.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense, because I'm like, what?
I don't know how they got thread through it, but,
Maybe they used glue?
they could have, but it looked like it was threaded through. Or maybe that was the first one when he was a kid. But either way, I enjoyed seeing that.
I don't know. It was funny how they had it like very fast paced as he's grabbing all these things and then just slowly reaches in and grabs the gravel.
And they even had, when he did the one scene with the guy he thought was dead, he, like, grabbed the rug, like, out from under the stuff. Like, he's done this plenty of times.
Yeah, he did that a lot in the movie.
Yeah.
Where he just grabs
He did
a
that.
tablecloth.
Yeah, he did that for his suit, which is why he was so good at doing it. Every time he wanted to take it. And I can't tell you how hilarious it was seeing him get sprayed down as a kid, like at a county jail, and then see nuns slap him with towels to dry him off. I love that.
It's hilarious. Okay, so what happened next?
Well,
so let's see. So he got... And his friend is, like, using it up, blowing the money on himself, of course.
Yeah. And then the first time we actually see him do that is his shoes. He turns around and gets the white shoes. That's the very first time we see him actually give in to his vanity. Yeah. Well, I don't want to say the first time. A second time. Because the other time we see him give in is when he rips his shirt off in the very first fight and loses because he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice that. You're right. His vanity caused him to lose. If he just focused on the fight, he would have won.
Yeah, because he was winning. Then he turns around and rips off his shirt. So we slowly see him, like... And also, his vanity then, like, very first thing, what do they do to try to get good at wrestling? They train. It was stupid, but they trained. Then once his vanity starts taking over, he looks for an easy way out, and he goes for the eagle eggs.
You're right. I hadn't noticed that.
Like, we can truly see, just in everything he does, he's slowly becoming less of the man he was.
I was thinking there in that scene, if you can freestyle rock climb up to an eagle's nest, I don't think you need the eagle's egg.
Yeah, I know. And it was a pretty steep one, too.
Did you see he should have fallen off several times?
I know.
He's just hanging there.
And then I think it was great to see, in the end, he takes the same pose to take out the villain in the end that he did to jump off. Like, once again, wouldn't have taken anything away from the movie not to have it, but it adds a little bit having those small things. And that's also one thing, is that these are callbacks that you aren't pointed out to you. So if you miss it, that's fine. Whereas, like, a lot of movies, they'll force you to see every callback. They're like, a good movie will always have, like, not always, but most of the time have all these details that you don't see, and you see a lot of stuff. That's because they have so much. Whereas bad movies usually seem like they have a lot because they point out everyone to you painstakingly. And it's like, just shut up. Yes, I heard the line the first time. It sucked then too.
It's like, the product placement in Truman Show?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that, except with their pop culture reference.
Yeah, I know, dude. But, yeah, I love that in the Truman Show, that everything was product placement.
It's like, I'm about to wash your clothes, Truman, with, Tide Pods that get your clothes 50% cleaner.
Yeah, but if you think about it, he would have never thought that was weird. Everybody talked like that his whole life. Like, that'd be so weird. But also, something else that I noticed is every single fight, like the first one is the most basic. Alright? And, like, his opponents are just basic people that don't look, like, super high-end. That's it, because that's where he was. Every fight after then had something special about it to make it weird. Like, first one after that
was they were called the Satan Twins, right?
I think so. They were the short people that, like, acted like beasts and, like, would bite and stuff. And then they had the two that were, like, mirror images of each other, and then, like, took them both out at the same time doing the same moves. After that was the tag team of women that went for their nuts because they could do that. And then noise. After that was the old men who used their belts to, like, whip them.
Do they have any rules in this?
I don't think so. It's street wrestling. Because, I mean, you break the rules, and people usually, that makes it interesting. So it makes more money.
Okay, I thought it was hilarious how Nacho had this huge issue with how Bones was like an atheist and how he believed in science, man. How could you never be baptized? So before he goes against the Satan Twins, he just baptizes the guy.
Dude, that was pretty awesome. And then they figure out about, once again, we show that Ramses truly doesn't care about the orphans by getting mad at Nacho after he asked for the autograph twice, you know? But when we really see Nacho most lost is the woman he likes comes. So he could talk to her. He doesn't, because he's got this party to go to. The orphans are out of food. He doesn't mess with that, because he's got a party to go to.
We had the earlier scene that we skipped. You remember when he wanted to impress her, so he like wore those silly clothes and took her on a walk and then beat up.
Oh yeah, that's true. But I think this scene stood out to me as the most when we see him truly, like, at the most lost, because they don't have anything to eat, and she's trying to come to him, not swooning, but as a true person, and he blows it all off for wrestling, and this happens right before he gets discovered, and, you know, the classic, everything goes to failure, you know?
Yeah. And I think the party actually was interesting because it served a double purpose, in that it served a character purpose, in that, you know, it showed him putting his vanity and wrestling ahead of his duties as a monk, and also it served a plot purpose, as in this is the reason why, as in they figured out you go to such and such a match and you win it and you can fight Ramses.
And showed once again how evil Ramses is.
It just throws the... Well, to be fair, that song was awful.
Yeah. It was. But also, something interesting is that they actually try, like, 4 different times to wrestle. First, they try training. Then they try the egg. Then they try to get to there through Ramses. Then they go to this fight. So they tried 4 different times. And they actually failed all 4 times. The 4th one wasn't really his fault, though, because somebody else tripped up his foot, but the other ones, it's like...
Okay, that's got to be against some rule of some guy who's already been knocked out of the ring grabbing your foot.
Yeah. But, I mean, the first one, we already established he lost because of his vanity, because he ripped off the shirt. Second time, with the eagle egg, he was just looking for the easy way out. Third time, he got rejected by Ramses. Once again, he was looking for the easy way out, looking to, well, maybe if I can't make it on my own, let me cling to these people who've already made it. And then the 4th time, he goes into it, but it's already been a while, you know, and he's now just starting to move back to who he was.
But he does get second place, so it's showing that upward trajectory.
Yeah, and I think it also showed some character that after that he gave up wrestling because he saw not only what it cost him, but what it turned him into. because if it just was what it cost him, he would have been right back ready to go and wrestle. But after that, even when he found out he could still fight this guy, Ramses, he didn't want to because of the person it made him. And that's also when we first really see the character development of our side character, the skeleton, that he wrestles with. Because he actually drove over the person's foot because the kid was trying to get food, and the, I forget his name. Anyway, the guy who won had, he drove over his foot, the skeleton did. Drove over the bad guy's foot, not the main bad guy, and that's how Nacho was able to be in the final fight. It's the first time we ever actually see him do something for somebody else, and then he goes back to do this thing for Nacho. So even though we didn't really get to see much of the development, you still see him.
I think his development was really sudden, though.
Yeah.
He goes from, I hate all the orphans in the world, to I love orphans.
So we didn't really see the development. We only saw the end and the beginning of it, but I don't come down on them too hard for that because we didn't really get to see much of him doing anything outside from being with Nacho Libre. Maybe it truly was him being baptized. Yeah.
But and then
also something
they
else.
had this scene, and I think another scene that with what you were talking about was when he goes back after the party, the sister is there making the soup that he was supposed to, and he's got no food, and she gives him a talking down, and he's like, okay, I'll tell you the truth, I'm a wrestler, and she's like, oh, that's bad, wrestling for glory. He's like, well, is there ever a time?
Well, first he only half comes out with the truth. He says he went to a wrestling match. She assumes he watched, and then he doesn't correct her. But yeah.
Well, didn't he go and you could say that or something like that?
Yeah.
Something like that?
So he didn't
no,
really
it wasn't,
correct
and you could
her.
say that was something like that.
It's like, you watched a wrestling match? You could say that. That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like, well, when can you wrestle? And she lays out the reason why you can wrestle when you wrestle for other people.
Mm-hmm. And that's also one thing. Just going back, we were talking about the villain a little bit earlier, and how much he walks out in the final fight through a big thing of his mask, walks out through the mouth of it. We saw a shrine to himself, and we see the guy, which kind of parodied Rocky. When he's telling the main guy, you could do this, you're the best, nobody beats you. But instead you have the guy, Ramses is number one. Ramses' legs are number one. Ramses, and also, just even, his mask was gold, too. Even his name is Ramses, a pharaoh who was a human seen as a god and had all these statues built to him and stuff. So even the name, everything about him just goes to show how much of an idol he is to everyone and himself.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And then they get in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting bodied.
Yeah,
and then in comes the nun with the children, all of them wearing the masks.
Well, to be fair, he actually he
was
losing.
He was losing, but he still.
But he was doing all right. But he got really bodied when Ramses broke the rules. So he went over while it was still a break in the round and slammed Nacho's head into the watermelon Nacho was eating.
Yeah, and then he demasks him in the middle of the. So he was demasked when the nun and the orphans showed up with the map.
Yeah, which I think, like I said with you, I think is very important to show how he had to be who he was. He couldn't be Nacho Libre. He had to be Ignacio to win. That's who he truly was, and it wasn't two conflicting sides. This is when it came together as him being the same person, no matter where he was.
Yeah, and I think that the orphans, like combining, him as Ignacio, with you taking care of orphans and stuff, and the luchador mask with them all wearing it, as in through visual medium, it showed us that his halves have been united.
Yeah.
And then he was able to destroy Ramses, and that jump at the end. Even if he had missed that jump, I'm just thinking, like, with Ramses just running away, I'm like, dude, your career is over. Like,
dude,
you're never going to live that down.
No matter how, like, ridiculous it looked, I still loved it, and not even just for comedy. Like, it felt good to see him flying through, and then after he knocks down Ramses, how he, like, twists around Ramses' arm, and then, like, puts his hand up, and then, like, folds like he knows exactly what he's doing. And also, one thing I noticed is that there's, like, one background character that's at his very first match that we see, and he's there for, like, every single match since, and in the very end, he's cheering for Nacho at the last match. He's the only background character that really you can ever remember. I
Only
mean,
because they showed it to us so many times. He's still...
and he still had that same clueless look on his face. Like everybody did on that.
Yeah, and then it ends with the bus that he promised to get them earlier in the movie, and they go on a field trip. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word for a second. And there it ends.
Yeah,
with the thumbs up.
Exactly.
From the nun.
And you saw even the skeleton, the guy he was wrestling with, he was there too. And you saw Nacho Libre painted on the bus, and even the little action figure. But you can tell it's not like how Ramses had it. It's because now that they have become one, so he's just living himself in all of it. He's not worshiping himself at all. Because he was on the side of the bus, he was just a part of it. It was like
it was really small. Like, it was like a whole scene.
Yeah, it was a whole scene, and he was in it. And there were other, like, children in it, too. And I think the children painted the bus, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting, too. And, you know, they paint Nacho Libre.
And having, like, a little action figure of himself
is
so different from having, like, a shrine. Because it's, like, a little him. It's not, like, oh, look at me. It's just like a little subtle reminder he has there, because he isn't wearing the mask. He's not still wearing the mask, so it is there to show that he is still Nacho Libre while being Ignacio, but he doesn't wear that mask.
I'll be honest, though, if I had an action figure made of myself, I'd get it and put it in my car.
Dude, I would have... Like, I would buy a whole bunch of them just to have them scattered around in, like, corners of the house. You can't go anywhere without me staring at you.
What you do is you should tape one in front of the toilet so whenever you sit down, it's looking into your eyes.
Dude, what I need to do is, like, tape a whole, like, bunch of them so that they line with the curtain. So either you have the windows open so other people can see you, and when you want privacy, you close it. And there's a whole line of me staring at you. Dude, I would be like the tooth fairy. Ian tries to go to bed. What's that under my pillow? It's me!
Just everywhere. You literally... You get wallpaper of yourself.
Yeah, dude. That would be so hilarious.
You know those party plates with like the thing? Get them, eat off of those. And have
the zoo animal ones. Yeah. Those are the ones I want. Where it's like the circle that has like the frog eyes with the... To put your little like ketchup in and stuff.
Oh, you just resurrected an ancient memory.
Dude, I love those, but I like never had them. But the few times I did, I was like... Oh, the food tasted better.
You know it. That is 100% accurate.
Dude, if I ever get rich, that's what I'm going to spend my riches on. Action figure of me and zoo animal plates.
Very worthy causes.
Exactly. Honestly, better than giving the money to orphans, if I have to say so myself.
No, give our orphans zoo animal plates.
I'll give them my action figures. I'm not ready to part with the zoo animal plate.
Okay, fair. Hello, starving orphans. Here is an action figure. You're welcome.
I mean, they can't eat the plates either. But we gotta draw the line somewhere. I mean, what's next? They take my parents?
They can have mine. No, I'm just kidding. I actually, I listened to a teaching today that was about how, 4/5 of the Jews died in Egypt. Well, it was like, well, obviously the children didn't die. So what happened to them? And he was talking about how they got adopted, and so it's literally like that. It's like, you get 4 other families of children you have to share your father with. It's all of a sudden,
dude. That reminds me of way 100 years back when people
You're that old?
hated. But how people back then, there were a bunch that hated immigrants. Like, they're stealing all our jobs, all our women. Imagine being like, they're stealing all our parents.
Yeah. So
I know some of them must have been like, oh, they're stealing all our women. And then one of them, I'm sure, was like, they stole my wife. I'm sure there was one of them like that. They took our germs. Dude, that's got to be rough.
So the action, honestly, on to more general things, the action in this movie was great in its own way.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, that one move where the guy knocks the dude down, then does a little dance move and spins, and then does the splits into kicking him. That was my favorite part of the whole movie. If I could only have 5 seconds from this movie, it would be the nuns hitting him as a kid with a towel and that kick.
I would agree.
I love that so much.
No, the action was great. Dialogue. Was there any dialogues that jumped out to you as a good line besides Nacho? I blew out my mic.
I think all of it was around that same level of where it was that dry and ridiculous humor while also keeping serious at times. I think for the most part, none of it really jumped out, but none of it also really fell below for me, except for that one scene in the bathroom with the song.
The song. I was just gonna mention that. I'm like that.
Yeah,
and it just grated and went on a bit too long.
Yeah, I would have cut that, but besides that, I don't think anything really stood out or fell below. I think most of it was all on a pretty good median line that was on a good level where I would want it for this movie. Because you aren't getting hit with all these, whoa lines. But it's dry and ridiculous humor. That also let itself be serious sometimes.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is a comedy about a wrestling priest. So
yeah.
Let's not expect Quentin Tarantino here.
Yeah, but also, I have to say, I think the actors do a great job, even to the background actors, because it was hilarious seeing the blank stares and stuff. And when one thing I noticed is when the skeleton hands the sister the note and then walks away, and he's still hunched forward with his back straight to his side, palms backwards. I'm like, who walks like that? Everybody paid, even the actors paid attention to the little details to try to be funny.
I feel like the crew thought that this movie was hilarious, and in a way that translated, not okay, have you seen Ghostbusters 2016?
No.
Okay, if you watch it, don't. Time is a very precious resource.
Yes.
Must not be wasted on that. I feel like it had this was only funny on set syndrome for a lot of its jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but I'll mention it again. They had this joke where Thor was what about Mike, because he's going to be hired by the Ghostbusters. What about my cat? He's well, I'm allergic to cats. Oh, that's good, because he's a dog. You have a dog named My Cat? No, his name is My Cat. Oh, okay, My Cat. Actually, I don't have a dog. Oh, well, then everything's... What is that?
It's like a blooper reel. I don't really...
No, I leave that off the blooper reel.
Yeah.
Because usually the blooper has something messed up. Like, that just goes on.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, because that's, like, hilarious to the cast and crew, but I don't really find it that funny, you know? But it's, like, that's the whole movie.
The entire movie.
You know what's so weird? My dad has these names for cats and dogs that actually legitimately sound like names if you say them right. He wants a cat named C-A-T. If you say it slow, it's C-A-T. Spells cat.
Yeah.
And a dog named D-O-G. C-A-T and D-O-G. Sound like actual, like, names just from, like, a different language, but just spelling out cat and dog.
Okay, that's legitimately funnier than my cat.
Yeah, I know. Dude, my cat sounds like a preschool family-friendly version of my Kahoot nicknames.
But with the movie, you know, I felt like the cast and crew thought it was hilarious, but it also came across to the audience rather than, please just cut this. I don't understand. How much did they pay the editors of Ghostbusters 2016 that none of them went, this joke isn't funny, cut it? But then again,
they had to have
I wonder
a
what
movie.
they cut. What did they cut
Dude,
if this made it?
That's the thing that I'm wondering, you know? Is like, some people, like, there's some artists that I really think have some really trash music, which is not objective, just my opinion, but then they say how many songs they have unreleased, and I'm like, these were the ones that made it. These were the ones that made it. Like, bro, I hope to never, like, bro. Yeah, it just blows my mind. But I felt like everybody in here did a good job and was purely dedicated to it. Even, like, I love just how random, like, the one actor, his scream after he gets hit in the eye with corn. Just how that came out of nowhere. Like, I would have expected, like, slow motion, like, throwing the corn. Like,
I didn't expect him to throw the corn. I thought they were about to, like, have a wrestling match or something.
Yeah, but it was, like, 1 second at, like, throws the corn, the guy, cut.
Oh,
that's
the
it.
Corn everywhere. That was a funny gag that they kept having.
Yeah.
With the corn.
And it also had, like, who says this? I'm never gonna remember their name, but it's one, comedian that writes that I'm gonna hate myself for not remembering, but they always say, don't pace yourself to tell the audience it's a joke. Because a lot of times you'll say a punchline and they'll be like, and you'll wait, give them time to laugh. And some of them will, like, laugh, not even really getting the joke. It's just like, you told them now's the time you're supposed to laugh. Like holding up a card. But he says, run through the jokes. Make the audience play catch-up. Like, they did that. Like, it was a slower paced thing, so I don't feel like we ever had to play catch-up. But they never took breaks for us to laugh. And just like that one scene, throwing the corn, the guy screams. Instantly, they cut. You know?
So, I watched this one movie, right? Okay, so Grandma got ran over by a reindeer. Actual movie. Everyone who involved should be fired. Have you seen it?
Yes. When I was like 8, I saw
Oh my goodness.
I remember that I've seen it. That's it.
Okay, well, in this one scene, so basically the plot is this evil woman, I think his family, but I'm not sure and I don't care, wants to take over, like, Grandma's store or whatever.
Yeah, I remember.
And so she's got a lawyer, and the lawyer's like, my name is Slime, and the kid's like, you said it, not me. And then there's, like, this awkward space in the script. Like, when they're writing it, they're like, oh, everyone's gonna laugh. We gotta leave space for that.
I know.
You're like, you're not as funny as you think you are.
Have you ever seen where they take, like, I saw one, it was unbearable. It was just a TikTok for just 1 minute of a Disney Channel show where they cut out the laugh track.
Oh my goodness.
It was so awkward.
Do you know which one it is? I'm just curious.
I don't remember, I know it has Ariana Grande in it, but I never
Do you
saw
have the
one.
slightest idea how little? No.
Yes. I've never saw one show as a kid with Ariana Grande in it. I know she's in a few, so I couldn't tell you which one because I had never seen the actual show.
Fair. Disney Channel is where writing goes to die a slow and painful death.
Yeah, there's still some gems on there like Phineas and Ferb, but there's a few and far between.
I mean, their animation can be good, but did they produce a single good live action show?
Cory in the House, the best anime ever.
Yes, that is the greatest anime.
I'll be honest,
I've never seen it.
iCarly, I've seen a lot of it because one of my exes really liked iCarly, and it wasn't great, but the Spencer in it, the older guy, he was pretty funny. Like, I would see him in a normal show, but there's this one kid, if you've ever heard of him, Gibby. He is legendary. I would watch a show of just Gibby. He anytime he walked on screen, the scene was saved. Like, he was awesome.
Okay, so you ever see Jesse?
Yeah, I saw that as a kid.
Yeah. You know not the Indian kid, but the other one?
Yep.
He was the only one that was actually decent on that show.
Yeah, but I love Bertram as a meme. Dude, have you ever seen one of my favorite things on TikTok ever is have you ever seen Good Luck Charlie?
I have.
So you know who Bob Duncan is, the dad?
Yes.
There is an account on TikTok with the profile picture being Bob Duncan, and it's named Bob Duncan. He will go on comments on videos and comment, "I'm Bob Duncan, lol." And there's another account called the Bob Duncan Police, which is the same picture, but like aviators photoshopped at a cop hat. And what he does is shows videos where he found Bob Duncan commenting, "I'm Bob Duncan, lol," because people will tag him. So just you'll see on a random video somebody say, "I'm Bob Duncan, lol," and somebody comments the Bob Duncan Police, and that's one of their videos that they found another place Bob Duncan has struck. That's one of my favorite things on the internet.
That reminds me, so you remember Scratch, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
There was this account, Elsa the Conqueror, and it was basically, they would, oh my goodness, this person, I made one of these videos, and it was painful, but they would painfully screenshot every frame of a video, and then, like, stitch them together when Scratch to make things, like, of Elsa, like, beating up things or whatever, like, beating people up. It was actually pretty hilarious. But the effort, I'm like...
Yeah. Mercy.
Goodness gracious. Anyway.
Well, I have to say, I think this movie is a classic, and I say that not saying, I think it all has this encompassing feel that it never really breaks from, and I can't tell you another movie that I would say to replace this, which is partially what makes it a classic, is that I think it's good, and I wouldn't point to another one and being like, but this is like the exact same thing.
Yeah. So, what is your subjective rating?
I would say it's hard for me to put a number on it. In my mind, I have like this tier of like the top tier movies, and it would go right below that in amazing movies. So movies that I think are the best, in my opinion, ever. Then there's opinion of movies I love. This would be in that spot where if it's not, where if I'm going to Survival Island, I'll make do without it. But if I'm trying to get just a small collection of movies that I love, it's going to be there. So I would probably say a 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm 100% agree. Though, if I'm going a more objective rating, I'd lean more towards a 7.
Yeah, but I also have to say, I would be willing to go lower for other movies, because I I would probably lean more towards that. I don't know. It partially depends on the mood, because I'm not always in the mood for it, but when I am, I love it. But I hate how much, if you even go to 5, that doesn't feel like an average.
No.
So if this is a scale where 5 is average.
An actual average.
Yeah, rather than 5 is being nice about something being crap. If something, like, in this, let's just say, there's some movies that are actually 0, not just memeing, the same way some are 10 and 5 is the average, then I would put this at probably a 7, because I would say 9 and 10 is my favorite, 7 and 8 is ones that I love, and this probably falls on the lower half of ones that I love, but it's still very high.
Yeah, so, question is, have we succeeded in our hunt for a well-written film?
Well, I mean...
Well, there's one problem. This movie takes place in a desert, and we usually do our huntings in jungles, so I guess we're going to have to keep hunting.
Let's be honest, this whole thing happens in Mexico.
I'm not going to
thing,
Mexico. Are you kidding me? I'm going to get trafficked, and I'm going to get
and
shot
also,
with
it's
drugs.
a Hollywood movie that happens in Mexico, and we don't have the white balance off, so everything is
my
yellow.
Goodness, you're right. This
How
movie is
unrealistic
garbage.
is that?
So I walked. So I had to go to Mexico with my wife. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time, but you get it. We went for like a weekend, and as soon as I walked in, I'm like trying to like wipe my eyes away. I'm like, everything was this weird sepia yellow color, and it was the
like
weirdest
this yellowish
thing.
orange. I know. So the fact that
and I could actually tell. So I was on the plane. And we were flying back, I could tell the second we crossed into the U.S. because suddenly everything became normal.
I know. So I don't see why they did that. So one of two things happened. Either they spent millions on, like, actually CGIing that, which took away its realism, or they just didn't pay enough attention, and this was actually filmed in, like, New Mexico or something.
Oh, so trash.
So
okay,
with that, normally I wouldn't come as hard on that if it was a scene. But it's the whole movie. So let's hunt for a well-written one.
Yeah, well, next week, Aaliyah will be joining me again, and we will be hunting with Battleship. Yeah, we might be... We're not scraping the bottom of the barrel yet, but we have a stack of movies at home, and what was under Skull Island was Battleship, so we're like, okay, might as well. We're not expecting a good movie. But whatever.
Yeah, well, who knows what you find on the hunt.
This podcast was brought to you by viewers like you. Want to support what we do and keep our podcast on the air? Please donate to our Patreon at patreon.com/filmhunters.